Hi everyone, I'm doing my John Maxwell now. I had a busy day. I went downtown today to try to see if I could see any job wanted or help wanted signs. And I took a walk around. I went to see our legislative assembly. I've never been there. I've been in Canada for 20 years, but this time when I got let go, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to waste my life just sitting at home, only focusing on my job search and using the internet. I'm going to go out and I'm going to look at places and talk to people. So that's what I did. And it was nice. I guess for me, the tour is 30 minutes, but for me, I needed more time because I like to stand and take a look at the art, observe it, take it in. It was a nice tour. I would recommend it, and it's free. They do them every 30 minutes. You just have to take some ID with you because they do require it, and they make a note of that. So if you want to see that in Toronto, it's worth it. It's nice to go see. I used to go to all the museums in England and all the art galleries because over there a lot of the art galleries were free. So I used to go and spend my weekends there and just sit and observe, take in the art, appreciate it because they have all the great artists there, you know, the English artists, and I enjoy art. So I haven't done a lot of that here, but I have been to the ROM, I have been to the theaters downtown, I've seen some plays. So I've done some amazing things, and despite not earning a lot of money. Like I said, whenever I have money, I make sure I enjoy it. So you can't save on minimum wage, so you might as well enjoy it. So whatever money I get for birthdays or for Easter or whatever, I use that to go out to enjoy music, to enjoy the theater, to buy some nice things that I like. So that's what I do. And then today I spend time doing my job applications. And of course the rejections are all coming in. So I'm waiting for that one acceptance, which we all wait for. And then I'll be back at work. So I might as well make the most of it and exercise every day, do everything I can to stay positive and to stay healthy. And for today, I'm looking at this day 3 of the law of sacrifice. So John Maxwell is basically using this thought: effective leaders know the value of sacrifice. And he gives Philippians 3:7, what things were gain to me, these I have counted loss for Christ. So leaders have to give up in order to get something. And I think people think that, oh, if you have your degrees or if you have your like membership to a certain place, or if you have your American Express card, they think that that's like a symbol of leadership. But it is not necessarily so, because it doesn't, yes, because you have money, you have certain things that you can do, but it doesn't make you better than other people. It doesn't, we all created equal, and we all have opportunities to use our leadership skills, whether it's in the community or for our families. Some people only focus on their families. For me, I didn't have my own family, so I focused on the community because I like to do it. And as I raise others up, I hope my own life will get better someday, eventually, and I'll be in a good paying job. But I don't only do things for my family. My family I've done a lot for, and they benefit from my volunteering in the community, from my helping in the churches with the One campaign. They all benefit from it, whether they realize it or not, because people know me. Then they say, oh, that's so-and-so's sister, or that's so-and-so's daughter. So they all benefit from that. But we all have to give up in order to get to the next level. And he gives the example of Moses, how Moses had to give up his old life, he had to give up his right to do whatever he wanted, and he had to follow the path that was laid out for him. So it's the same way with us. When we have to take new paths, we give up that security. When we take on new skills, when we take on education, we're giving up the security of what we know to take on something new. And we're always like building Noah's Ark. We're not building the Titanic, because we don't know it all. We always have to be learning. We always have to be open to new things. And then the second point is leaders have to give up to grow up. So it takes time to become a leader in the community. It's not like you just arrive here in Canada and people say, oh yes, they know you, or they know your family. It takes time, and it takes a long time before people will know you, like you, and trust you. And every day we have to prove ourselves. Every day we have to take on our responsibilities. And again, he uses Moses' time in the desert as the example of how his character was built during that time. And we also have to learn how to delegate things, because we can't do everything on our own. So when we work in our teams, we have people who are at the top, and then we have people who are the supervisors, and then we have the frontline people. So I've held different positions. I've been on boards. I've been like a chair for governance and chair for HR here in Canada. And I've also done the secretarial role on a board. And we work in a team to get things done. So we all learn and we grow from each other by doing that. And I've used those opportunities to help me to understand what good governance is, how the financials get approved for a company or a nonprofit, what are the requirements for running that nonprofit. And those are all skills that I've learned and that I can use, whether it's in my next volunteer position or it's in a position where I'm paid to do something. And he gives the example of how Moses had to become the great leader he finally became, the kind of leader that people loved and for who they would follow. They would weep and mourn for them. And it's the same with our leaders. When our leaders die, whether it's in the music industry or our work industries, wherever it is, we do acknowledge their deaths and we mourn for them. And they have taken on different roles, they have taken on different responsibilities. Some of them have been in the army, in the US. The US is the entertainment, where the entertainment industry comes from. And even here in Canada, we have our own. So they're not just like, oh yeah, they're just entertainers. No, they have other things that they've done. They've contributed to their countries. They've held positions of leadership in those countries. So when you think of leadership, you don't have to think only in terms of money. It's not always about the money. And then the third point is leaders have to give up to stay up. So you never arrive. You always have to be open to learning. You always have to be open to changing, to growing. None of us can stay where we are. And it doesn't matter what field you go into, what profession you go into. There's always new things coming up, whether it's technology changing or whether it's, before we used to have big computers, very big, those old computers. And now if you look at our laptops, they're slim and they're tiny. We used to have laptops where you could put the DVD in and watch it. We don't have that anymore. So technology changes, we also have to change and we also have to adapt. And we also have to keep God at the heart of what we're doing. Because when we keep God at the center, then our humility is there. Because we know that we're not in control of this life. And sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's annoying, sometimes you wonder what in the world is happening to my life. but God has a plan for everybody. And I think here in Canada especially, the more you plan, the less chances are that your plans are going to work out. Because I know for me, the only things that I can plan are my education. Because the schedule is set and I know that it's going something that I can achieve, I can accomplish. But everything else, I can't plan anything. Like I can't say, okay, yeah, in 10 years' time, I want to be the head of HR. Because I can plan that, but other people are coordinating what positions you can get into, who's getting the promotions, who's getting the opportunities to earn better. So it's not necessarily in my hands. I can do what I can do, but the rest is not in my hands. So it takes stamina, it takes determination, it takes perseverance, and Moses had to do all those things. He dedicated his life to God, and he had to learn to obey God. All of us have disobedience, and he gives the example of how Moses was disobedient to God, so he could not finish that journey with his people. But there's none of us who have not been disobedient to God. And that's why we have to keep coming back to him and keep asking him to show us his path and his direction and which way he wants us to go. So those were the main points for this. And the higher you intend to go, the more you will need to give up. So if you want to go up to those director level roles and to those roles where you're overseeing things, you have to give up a lot. You have to give up your time. You have to be willing to learn. You have to understand what governance is. You have to understand different parts of the organization and how they work together. So for me, I'm not an accountant. I don't know about the general accounting standard practices in Canada. If you ask me to do the invoicing, you ask me to do accounts receivables and payables, I can do that. But I'm not an accountant. I'm not going to prepare your financial statements and sign off on them. I have the knowledge, yes, I know how to do it because I studied that. But I don't work as an accountant, and it's not something I enjoy. It's not something I would want to do. So we have to also think about where our skills are, where our strengths are, where our weaknesses are. And the good thing about God is he lets us do whatever we want. He gives us all the freedom to do whatever we want as long as we stay on his path. Because when we don't stay on his path, we just end up hurting ourselves. So it doesn't really make sense. And for me, when I pray, I just talk to God like I'm talking to a friend, like how you see some of my posts. And that's the way I pray. You can have your guided prayers. You can have things that you do, like setting up your prayer space, coming into a quiet space. You can have your mass. You can have your church services. Those are all important things, and they're all pathways to lead us closer to the Lord. But for me, when I pray, I just pray like I'm talking to God, like I'm talking to my friends. And that's the way I like to pray. So today's question is, to become a more effective leader, what are you willing to give up? And those are the things that we have to think about. And for me, I don't want those director level roles and all that. So I'm looking for a role that I can use my skills and my talents, and hopefully I get that executive assistant job or that HR job. But I've had those positions where I've worked directly with the CEOs. I've planned the strategies for the organization, the rollout. I've done the visioning for Greener City when we were revamping our vision statement, and it was fun. I enjoyed doing all of that. But unfortunately, because of my health, I also have to get a job that is going to be suitable for me. So I need to find something with a day shift, something where I'm not on the phones all the time and not doing 3 chats at a time. So hopefully I will get my executive assistant role or my HR role. And some of those roles do pay very well. And I've also helped my sister and her family. They're a family of 4. And my brother and his family, they also a family of 4. So even though I'm single, we're still one family. We still help each other and we're there for each other. And when you have children, things are expensive. You've also got their education, their schooling, you've got food to think about, you've got a lot of things to think about. And then when they go to university, in Canada we're fortunate, we have a lot of places that will give bursaries and they'll help. But for me, I didn't get all that because I was doing all my studies part-time. So I didn't get all that. I couldn't get the student loans. I couldn't get the student bursaries, even though I was a citizen of Canada, because everything is focused to full-time. And I didn't have anybody to rely on that I could say, okay, I'm going to study full-time. So I've still got a lot of student debt that I need to pay off. And hopefully I'll be able to do that and to buy my place and do all these things. But yeah, it's sometimes I feel like it's a waste of time. I look at all these books on my bookshelf. I want to show you. This is my bookcase. See? These are all my studies. Then I got another one here. And I got another one in that music room. All my binders. And I had more binders than that. I threw out all the ones from Rotman, all the ones I did for my executive programs when I came here in 2003. I threw all of that out. So who knows how, where and how it's all going to work out. But I'm sure something will work out. And I just have to keep at it and keep doing it and keep being open to learning and seeing where the next path is. But I've used all my education. I've used my music. I've played for family and friends at their weddings. In Zimbabwe, I played when my friends and family got married. I used to play at the Reps Theatre in Kwekwe. I played at concerts, our small concerts in Kwekwe. I've used my music at Regis College. I played the piano. So it hasn't gone to waste in that way. But when you invest in your education, you also want it to translate into good paying jobs. You want to be able to buy your own home. You want to be able to travel. You want to be able to save some money for a rainy day. Things do break down, but unfortunately, that hasn't happened for me in the time I've been here since 2002. So let's see where it all goes. I'm not only applying for jobs here in Canada, I'm applying for jobs in Ireland, in the US, in Switzerland. So I'm applying to a lot of different places. And hopefully something will work out for me, because I don't have any reason to stay here. My sister has got her own life and her own family. And my brother's in England, so who knows, maybe I'll go back to England. But I don't have to stay here anymore. My mother's remarried now, so it's a good opportunity for me. If I need to move, this is the good opportunity to move. But we'll see. Maybe I'll have to give up Canada. And I like Canada, so I've been here a long time. But if it's not working out and if I'm not going to be able to come up financially in life and I'm not going to be able to buy a home and to save money and do all these things, then there's no point really me staying here. And it's even been suggested by the family that I go to Australia, to Perth or Sydney. So I'm trying for those as well. And I have to wait and see. Maybe something will work out for me. But if it does mean that I have to leave here, I'll have enjoyed my time. I went to a lot of different places. I've built relationships with the South African Consulate General for Wits University. I used to help Professor Barry when we got the Shomalung project going for Wits here. I've built relationships with Ryerson for Wits, with Waterloo University for WITS. So I've done a lot for my university in South Africa. And maybe I'll go to America. Who knows? I don't know where the next thing is going to open up. So I have to just keep at it and keep applying. But one thing I know for sure, I'm not willing to be on the street. And I'm not for sale. I didn't invest all these years and give up so much just to land up being poor and broke and not having a future. And the church in Canada, they're very good with me. They know, like, when I need a break and I tell them, they're like, okay, that's fine. They let me do whatever I want because they know I'm a lay person and they know that I've struggled and they know that I have been trying to get something. And I'm not one of these people that has had the opportunities to go and give retreats like in Ireland or South Africa or somewhere. So the church let me do whatever I want because they know I've got a good head on my shoulders. And they know how I am. So they know I volunteer with the One campaign with Bono. And they know I'm an activist. So they let me do whatever I want. So it's good that way. Anyway, I hope that helps you. And yeah, if you want to take up leadership responsibilities, you can do it wherever you are. Today I went downtown, I saw that statue of the fireman. I said a prayer there by that statue, for they had all the names and the commemorations of all the people that died. So it was nice to go. It's still getting cool here in Canada because now we're going into fall and we have all our beautiful leaves. The leaves are all changing color. So let's see. Who knows, maybe Elvis Presley will take me to America. Then I can go and live my life in America.